Recently, I've been seeing a lot of misleading information from different YouTube channels telling you guys that if you invest $100,000 in real estate in Medellin, then you can get a residency visa after 5 years. I hope that you haven't followed that advice and bought a property yet, because you might be in for a rude awakening in this video, and you might actually want to turn it off now because you're probably going to be upset by the end of it once you actually learn the truth. But if you haven't bought a property yet, then pay close attention, because I'm going to be telling you why that $100,000 figure is completely incorrect and why it's actually significantly more. But first, let me just fill you in if you don't know what the real estate investor visa is. It's actually called the M investor visa, M standing for migrant. So when it comes to foreigners applying for Colombian visas, there's two types of visas. One of them being a tourist visa and one of them being a migrant visa. The main difference is that the visas that are classified as a tourist visa, for example, the digital nomad visa and the student visa, no matter how many years you hold those visas consecutively, you are not eligible for residency. But on the other hand, the migrant visas, the marriage visa, the shareholder visa, and the real estate investor visa, which we're going to talk about in this video, if you hold those visas for 5 years consecutively, then you can apply for residency in Colombia. And after that, you don't need to worry about visas anymore. So this type of visa is really attractive for those foreigners who want to establish a home and a residency in Colombia, like the name suggests. So now you know exactly the differences in the visas and why the real estate investor visa is so attractive. Let's get into why a $100,000 investment is not going to get you residency after the 5 years. Before I get into this next part, I just want to let you know that I recently opened up my own real estate agency here in Medellin, and I have a huge inventory for anyone who's looking to buy in this city. So if you'd like some help with that, I've left a link in the description. Click that, fill out the form, let us know what you want, and someone on my team will be in touch with you to discuss how we can help out. Here's a spreadsheet I prepared, guys. Don't get scared. There's a little bit of maths, but it's not that hard. I'm going to explain everything in detail, yeah? Let's first look at the requirements to get a real estate investment visa. So if I click this, it's going to go to the Colombian government's website. As you can see, requisitos específicos. This is the requirements for getting the M visa. Inversionista means investor. If you didn't know, you can actually right click this and you can hit translate to English and it'll just translate the whole page for you. So now we can actually read it together. The main thing you want to look at here is this point, where it says, in the case of investment in real estate, the property whose ownership is exclusively in the name of the foreigner for a minimum value equivalent to 350 current legal minimum wages on the date of submission of the application. So that's a very important point. It's not a fixed figure. The figure that you need to invest to be eligible to get a real estate investor at this point in time is 350 times the minimum salary in Colombia. So to figure out how much we need to invest to be eligible for the real estate investor visa, we know now it's 350 times the Colombian minimum wage, but we now need to know what the minimum wage is for 2024, because it changes every year. It goes up a certain percentage, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But first, let's talk about what it is in 2024. Have a link here, salariomínimocolombia.net. If we click that, it's going to show all the salario mínimo, or the minimum wage, over every year, right? And if you look at 2024, it was 1.3 million, right? So we have here 1.3 million. It's actually 1.3606. That's why my number's different. But we have the figure here. So we go, this figure times 350, the minimum wage, comes out to 455 million Colombian pesos. And that in US dollars, assuming that the exchange rate of today is $1 equals 4,173 Colombian pesos. Assuming that calculation, the figure that you need to invest right now to even apply for a real estate investment visa is $109,000. It's already over the $100,000 that these people have been telling you is all you need to invest to get residency. So you're already in trouble, but it gets worse, and I'm going to explain why. So if you invest more or less $109,000 right now in October 2024, you can get a visa, yeah? But the thing with the visa is, back to the Colombian government's website, the validity is up to 3 years. What does that mean? With visas, The thing is, it really depends on the agent that you get and how they're feeling at the time, how friendly they are or how unfriendly they are, I guess, and how they review your case. It's up to 3 years, but a lot of the time they can give you 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. What will happen most of the time that I've seen happening is that the first time, if you're new to Colombia and you've never had a visa before, they'll only give you 1 year because they want to give you the visa for a year. Make sure you don't do anything silly in that time. And then when you renew again, they'll consider giving you the 3 years. Let's take a quick look at the government website again, but this time to determine what it takes to get a residency visa in Colombia. So here we go. Here's the page. R visa means resident visa for accumulated time. For foreign nationals who have remained in the national territory, being Colombia, as holders of a valid migrant visa, accumulating the times indicated below. This means you're eligible once you've held a migrant visa for X amount, okay? So we're going to identify who we are, right? There's different things like spouse of a Colombian national, refugee, all these different things. That is not us. The visa that we're looking at is M investor visa, the real estate investor visa. If you've held it for 5 years, you can apply for residency. So remember that. Now let's go back to the spreadsheet. So let's imagine that we apply for the investor visa in October 2024 and that the government only gives it to us for 1 year for the first application, which is very common. So after that year, it'll be October 2025, and then we need to reapply for the investor visa again. And you need to satisfy all requirements every time that you apply. So what are the requirements? 350 times minimum wage. But the problem is, your old investment of $109,000 doesn't satisfy this requirement anymore. And why is that? Because, as you can see here, the Colombian minimum wage increases every single year. Over the past 3 years, it's increased 12%, 16%, and 10%. I've just taken somewhat of an average on that, and I've plugged it into these figures. So you can see here, if any of you know how to use Excel, I've put in the figure of the year before, add 13%. So that gives us actually a figure of $123,000 now. To continue your real estate investor visa, apply and get it for more years, you now need to have a property worth $123,000. Imagine you listen to someone who said $100,000 and after 5 years you can get residency and you're fine. So you put your $100,000 hard-earned money into a property, and then after a year you go back to the government and they say, no, sorry, well, your property is only worth $100,000 and now the requirement is $123,000. You're below the requirement, so now you need to buy another property if you want to get residency down the line. So this is a big problem, and it's also something that not many people know, and I can't take full credit for this. I learned this when consulting with our recommended visa lawyers, Nexo Legal. We were building our masterclass course with them, and they told us this exact issue. They said a lot of people fall into this trap, and there's a lot of misinformation circulating online and on YouTube and different forms of social media. Good on you for watching this video, because now you're not going to make this mistake. But let's get further into it, and I'll tell you the final figure that I recommend you invest now so that you can be confident that your initial investment today is going to lead to residency after 5 years. In your second application, let's assume that the government now gives you a 3-year visa. They've seen, hey, you, Jimmy, you're a good bloke. You haven't done anything stupid. So this time we're going to give you a 3-year visa. Good job, Jimmy. So you get the 3 years, and now you've held the visa for 4 years, right? And in October 2028, you would have held it for 4 years, but your visa has expired again. You're still a year away from residency, so you need to apply for yet another real estate investor migrant visa. But hey, remember, now you got to satisfy the requirements again of the 350 times minimum wage. And now it's 4 years on, and the minimum wage has gone up again, and now it's 2.1 million Colombian pesos. Doing all the calculations again, your minimum investment is now $177,000. So now you satisfy those requirements that your property is worth $177,000. Then you qualify and get issued your final real estate investor visa. This is obviously the last one you get, because even if it only lasts 1 year, you've accumulated the 5 years. And then in October 2029, you can apply for residency because you've held the real estate visa for 5 years. A couple of things went into this calculation. First of all, it assumes that there's a 13% increase annually on Colombian minimum wage. As you can see, in the past 3 years, it's been 12%, 16%, 10%. So 13% is pretty realistic, I'd say. The next thing I've assumed in these calculations is that USD to Colombian peso conversion is 4,173 as of today when I'm making this video. That's why it's always good to just think in Colombian pesos so you're not affected by currency risk either way. Another thing that I'd like to tell you is please confirm all figures with a lawyer before you apply for the visa. This is a constantly changing process, so make sure you're up to date with all current regulations. And be careful with this, because this is one thing that many lawyers may not tell you. Because you say, hey, I want to apply for a real estate investor visa, but I only have $100,000. They can make money out of your visa application. So what are they going to tell you? They have two options. Either they tell you, hey, you actually can't get it if you want residency because blah, 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 and then they might lose your business. Or they can just say, okay, let me do it for you. And then the next year comes around, you actually find out that you can't get residency and you can't even apply for another real estate visa. Who are you going to blame? This happens more than you want to believe. People are constantly getting in trouble due to bad information provided by negligent lawyers. That's why I recommend going with someone very highly recommended, and don't take any shortcuts and don't try and save dollars, especially with something like real estate when it's such a big investment. And as I said before, the lawyer that I recommend is Nexo Legal. They've helped plenty of our masterclass students and subscribers get their own real estate visas to stay in Colombia. If you want to get in touch with them, then click the link in the description and they'll be happy to help you out. So I hope that video was valuable, and I guarantee that it saved some of you guys tens of thousands of dollars and a lot of heartache and frustration down the line. If you want some more information on the process of buying property in Medellin, then just click this link and watch this video next.